This is my 1976 Jaguar XJS. It's one of the early year pre-HEs, which means before they went high efficiency. They're a little simpler than the later models, have less chrome, are more rare, and sometimes are more sought after for reasons. I've been working on this car for like 3 or 4 years now, but it still hasn't driven in at least 10 years. So why did I buy this piece of shit? I don't know why, but it's been my dream car for a long time. Ever since I saw Mark Hammond's in the Targa Tasmania and Marco Fleming's, and of course the TWR ones. I used to want a C4. I still kind of do, but this was just cooler, more obscure, and harder to work on, and more expensive, and harder to find parts for, and harder to build power. But it's cool to me, and I think that's all that matters. Another reason why these cars appealed to me so much is I kind of just wanted a beater shitbox to learn on. And the XJS in general had a pretty interesting story. It's kind of like the bastard child of Jaguar. So to me, this was the perfect blank slate. Cut up an E-Type and people send you death threats. But the XJS, nobody really gives a shit about. Plus, I actually like the XJS a lot more than the E-Type. At the time, I wasn't planning on buying one for a long time because I had just graduated college and I was starting a business, so I was broke as shit. This one was on Craigslist for a while at some boat dealer in Phoenix for $700. Didn't start, didn't run, it didn't come with wheels or tires, the floor was rusting itself apart, brakes didn't work, doors didn't work, interior was garbage. I bought it anyways. Had to borrow some wheels, and we had to finagle the doors to steer it on the trailer, but we towed it back home. It's my first project car. And then look at this fucking engine bay. Don't mind the hood, it's actually not installed. What a thing of beauty. It's interesting, to say the least. There's not really a lot of room to maneuver like anything up in here. But like check out all the spaghetti lines, like spaghetti vacuum lines, spaghetti spark plug wires going to the freaking distributor, and then all these little tiny fuel lines. So the fuel goes all the way from the back main tank into the surge tank, into the fuel pump, all the way up into the filter. And then from the filter it goes into the T, and then the T goes through all the injectors on both banks. And then from the injectors it goes down, up into the fucking air conditioning system, and then back all the way into the tank again. Why in the fuck does the fuel go into the AC compressor? Well, supposedly to cool the fuel enough to prevent vaporization issues. But the thing is that with these older XJSs is that these tiny skinny fuel rails, they're known to get really hot and have vaporization issues anyways. And here is the beloved Lucas. Electronic fuel injection from the 70s though. Like damn, that's pretty cool. These cars are supposed to have made over 250 horsepower and top out like 140-ish miles an hour, which is impressive for its time, but also fucking terrifying. So the first thing I did was manually turn it over to make sure nothing was seized, and then crank the starter and then check compression. Results were a little iffy. One of them might have been reading 0, whatever. And then next I changed the fuel pump, made sure no fuel was spraying its shit everywhere, and then we tried starting it. I can't tell if it's on fire or if that's just Andrew.
It's not on fire.
Oh! Oh no, you got
like a little throttle.
Don, go again, go again.
Hold it a little. That was too much.
Hold too much?
Yeah.
I was mentally ready to write it off and slowly look into finding a spare V12 to swap in there, but I'm glad that it started. After that, I changed all of the fuel hoses because that is the #1 reason why these cars fucking burn to the goddamn ground. Supposedly, they can be reliable if you stay on top of the upkeep, but ain't nobody want to work on these things. So the rubber gets old and they get all craggly and then they just snap. And they gush fuel and ignite and burn. There's a whole entire list of reasons why these cars tend to burn, but that's one of the most important ones. After checking the fuel hoses, checking the injectors, the distributor, and a few random other things, I think it was time to start tackling the rust repairs. In my head, I was like, how hard can it be? I've done some fab work in the past. Well, 16 months later of almost non-stop weekends cutting, grinding, welding away, here we are. In hindsight, I probably could have finished it in less time, but I was learning as I was going, trying to figure out how this car was built and put together. Look at all that rust though. This thing's never gonna be original or restored, and I don't think it was really the right candidate for that anyways. I mean, for example, I'm pretty sure this car has collapsed in half in the past, and they try to weld it back together. Like this section right here doesn't look very straight to me. And then inside the car, you can see somebody welded across in sections. It's been patched up multiple times for sure. This car is not going to be glamorous, but my goal is to bring it back to some sort of life again. Is it going to be fast? No. Is it going to be cheap? Also no. Is it going to be reliable? Definitely, probably no. It starts up really nice though. I'm definitely learning a lot as I work on this car, but I'm also definitely dreading a lot. Wiring, for example, it's got fucking glass fuses. It's just gonna take a long time for it to get reliable. And then in the longer term, my goal is to eventually get it manual swapped, make some headers for it, and then eventually do some engine work, you know, modern ECU, porting, higher compression, lightweight internals, a fat ass cam, that kind of thing. But one step at a time, it is so close to the first drive. So hopefully soon.